There are mysteries in this world that defy conventional explanation. From the massive Serpent Mound twisting across the Ohio landscape to mysterious burial sites, ancient artifacts, and alignments that suggest knowledge far beyond their time, tonight we're exploring strange coincidences in Ohio's ancient history that simply cannot be ignored. Evidence that challenges everything we think we know about our past and might just rewrite our understanding of human civilization itself. Before we dive into it, here's a quick note. The visuals in this video aren't necessary to enjoy the stories. They make it more dynamic, but you can keep up with everything strictly through the audio. Feel free to let this play in the background while you work, relax, or even fall asleep to these perplexing mysteries. And if you'd like to support me making these videos, consider subscribing to the channel. Let's begin our journey through the strangest coincidences of the ancient world. But not all mysteries are written down. Some are carved into the earth itself, silent and waiting. In the rolling hills of southern Ohio, an ancient artist, or perhaps a team of them, sculpted a quarter-mile-long effigy so massive it can only be truly appreciated from the sky. This is the Great Serpent Mound, a winding, undulating earthwork that depicts a serpent, perhaps swallowing an egg, its coils stretching across the landscape. It is one of the most spectacular and enigmatic ancient monuments in North America. We know it's old, incredibly old, but its true age is the first layer of this mystery. For a long time, archaeologists believed it was built by the Adena culture around 2,000 years ago. But more recent studies using advanced dating techniques suggest it might be younger, perhaps constructed by the fort ancient culture 1,000 years ago. Or it could be a case of an Adena masterpiece that was later restored and maintained by the fort ancient people. This uncertainty about its origins makes its purpose even more elusive. The sheer scale of the Serpent Mound is breathtaking. Built from layers of clay, ash, and rocks, and then covered in soil, the serpent rises several feet above the surrounding ground. The builder's understanding of perspective and proportion is astounding. From the ground, it's a large, graceful mound, but from above, it reveals its true form, a precise, symbolic creature frozen in time. The question is, why? Why would an ancient people, without aerial technology, invest so much time and energy into creating a giant drawing on the land that they themselves could never fully see? The most compelling clue lies not just in its shape, but in its alignment. The Serpent Mound is not randomly placed. Its head is aligned perfectly with the summer solstice sunset, the longest day of the year. Its coils seem to align with other solar events, like the equinox sunrises and sunsets. Some researchers have even suggested that the egg in the serpent's mouth might align with certain lunar events or even eclipses. This has led to the dominant theory that the mound was a gigantic astronomical calendar, a sacred almanac built into the earth. It could have been used to mark the changing seasons, to predict the best times for planting and harvesting, or to signal the arrival of important ceremonial periods. In this view, the serpent was a powerful spiritual symbol, perhaps representing a creator god or a force of nature, intimately connected to the cycles of the sun and moon. But not everyone is convinced. Another theory suggests the serpent is not swallowing an egg, but rather the sun itself. Or perhaps it depicts a mythical serpent from the creator stories of the people who built it, a story now lost to time. Others have proposed it could be a representation of a comet or celestial event witnessed by the builders, forever immortalized in the soil. There's also a more earthly, though no less mysterious, possibility. Some effigy mounds in North America are known to be burial sites. However, very few burials have been found near the Serpent Mound itself, which argues against it being a cemetery. So, if it wasn't for the dead, was it for the living? A site for grand rituals, a place where communities gathered to reaffirm their connection to the cosmos. The lack of a nearby village site deepens the mystery. It seems people traveled to the serpent, rather than lived beside it. This suggests it was a special place, a pilgrimage site of immense importance. The true purpose of the Great Serpent Mound remains one of Ohio's greatest enigmas. Was it an astronomical guide, a religious symbol, or both? Without a written record from its builders, we are left to decipher its meaning from the land itself, a silent testament to a sophisticated understanding of the world that we are still struggling to hear. If the Serpent Mound leaves us questioning the beliefs of ancient people, another Ohio mystery forces us to question the very trajectory of history itself. Centuries before the rise of the great Mississippian cities like Cahokia, a remarkable culture flourished across the eastern woodlands, with its heartland right here in Ohio. We call them the Hopewell, though that was not their name. They were not a single tribe, but rather a widespread network of communities connected by a fascinatingly complex trade and ceremony system. From around 200 years before the Common Era to 500 years after, the Hopewell culture built an astonishing legacy. They are known for their incredible earthworks, massive geometric enclosures, perfect circles, vast squares, and octagons that covered acres of land. Some of these, like those at Newark, Ohio, are so large and precise that they rival the scale of contemporary monuments anywhere in the world. But the Hopewell mystery isn't just about what they built, it's about what they did and where they went. This was a society with breathtaking reach and influence. Their trading network was immense, bringing materials from the farthest corners of the continent. Copper from the Great Lakes region was fashioned into intricate ornaments and headdresses. Sheets of shimmering mica were carved into beautiful shapes brought from the Appalachian Mountains. Obsidian, a volcanic glass used for razor-sharp tools and ceremonial objects, was sourced from what is now Wyoming. They even acquired shark teeth and shells from the Gulf of Mexico. This wasn't an empire built on conquest, but what archaeologists call a prestige economy, built on ceremony, connection, and the exchange of ideas and rare, powerful objects. The Hopewell were master artisans, creating exquisite art from these exotic materials. They fashioned intricate pottery, carved stone pipes in the shapes of animals, and created ornaments that displayed a deep symbolism and artistry. Their earthworks were likely centers for ceremony, social gathering, and astronomical observation, much like the Serpent Mound. They lived in small villages but came together at these grand earthworks for events that must have been the highlight of their yearly calendar. They were sophisticated, connected, and culturally rich. And then, around 500 years after the Common Era, it all stopped. The flow of exotic materials ceased. The construction of massive earthworks ended. The distinctive Hopewell art style faded away. It wasn't a sudden, violent collapse, but a gradual fading, a quiet end to a brilliant era. The culture simply vanished, leaving behind their silent earthworks and a question that has puzzled historians for generations. What happened? There was no evidence of a great war, no mass graves suggesting a devastating epidemic, at least not one that has been found. So what caused the dissolution of this vast interaction sphere? One leading theory points to climate change. A shift to a cooler, drier climate around that time could have disrupted agriculture, making it harder to produce the surplus food needed to support the artisans and leaders who organized the great trade gatherings. If people were focused on survival, the long-distance exchange of luxury items would have become less important. Another theory suggests social change. Perhaps the power of the leaders or shaman who coordinated the trade network waned. People may have simply turned inward, focusing on their local communities, and abandoning the large-scale, interregional connections that defined the Hopewell era. It's also possible that new technologies or cultural ideas from elsewhere made the old ways obsolete. The truth is, we don't know. The Hopewell didn't disappear in a cataclysm. They simply walked away from a certain way of life and faded into the next chapter of history, likely ancestors to the later tribes of the region. Their disappearance is a haunting reminder that advanced and sophisticated cultures are not always destined to evolve into empires. Sometimes they simply choose a different path, or are forced to by a changing world, leaving behind only their magnificent earthworks as a silent, enigmatic clue to their once great world. While the Serpent Mound stands alone, another site in Ohio presents a different kind of puzzle, one not of symbolism, but of stunning mathematical precision. Imagine trying to draw a perfect circle or a flawless octagon, but not on a piece of paper. Imagine drawing it on the land itself, using only the earth as your canvas, and shaping it on a scale so massive you can't even see the whole design from the ground. This is the mystery of the Newark Earthworks. Built by the Hopewell culture 2,000 years ago, this complex isn't just a collection of mounds. It is a vast geometric masterpiece, one of the largest ever constructed in the ancient world. The site originally encompassed over 4 square miles, a breathtaking array of perfect circles, precise octagons, and enormous squares, all connected by long, wide avenues. Today, only fragments remain, but the surviving octagon earthworks are so precise they still leave mathematicians and archaeologists in awe. The core of the mystery is how they did it. The Hopewell people had no written language, no metal tools, no wheeled carts, and no known standard units of measurement like feet or meters. Yet, they engineered landscapes with a level of accuracy that would be challenging even with modern GPS and surveying equipment. The octagon itself is connected to a perfect circle that spans over 1,200 feet in diameter. The walls of the earthwork are astoundingly uniform, standing about 8 feet high even today. But the most incredible feat is the alignment and proportionality of the shapes. The octagon's vertices are perfectly placed, and its area matches that of the adjacent circle with near mathematical perfection. This isn't random piling of dirt. This is sophisticated, planned geometry executed on a gigantic scale. So how did Hopewell architects achieve this without blueprints or calculators? The most likely answer is that they were brilliant practical astronomers and surveyors. They almost certainly used a simple yet effective tool, a long cord tied to a central stake. By keeping the cord taut and walking in a circle, they could create a perfect arc. To form right angles and straight lines, they may have used sets of stakes and cords in a 3-4-5 ratio, a classic Pythagorean technique known to ancient builders worldwide long before Pythagoras himself. This method creates a perfect right angle every time. They would have used the unchanging stars as their guide for these alignments, not the sun, which moves throughout the year. The main axis of the octagon earthworks, for instance, aligns with the northernmost point of the moon's 18.6-year cycle, a highly complex astronomical event. This suggests their knowledge wasn't just practical, it was deeply cosmological, accumulated over generations of precise observation. The purpose of this immense project is woven into its precision. This was not a fortress or a city. It was a ceremonial center, a literal cathedral made of earth. The vast enclosures were likely gathering places for people from across the Hopewell world, coming together for rituals, feasts, and social events. The precise geometry and astronomical alignments would have transformed the space into a clock and a calendar. On the right day, the moon would rise or set in perfect alignment with a gateway, a powerful spiritual experience that must have affirmed the world order for those who witnessed it. The Newark earthworks stand as a silent challenge to our assumptions about so-called primitive societies. They prove that intellectual achievement doesn't require writing or wheels. It requires observation, patience, and a profound desire to map the heavens here on Earth. If the earthworks are the sacred buildings of the Hopewell world, then there is evidence of a sacred highway connecting them. This leads us to one of the most tantalizing and debated mysteries in American archaeology, the Great Hopewell Road. From the skis above, archaeologists surveying the Hopewell heartland began to notice something strange. Emanating from the great ceremonial complex at Newark, there appeared to be a pair of parallel lines, stretching off towards the southwest for an incredible distance. These lines, visible through satellite imagery and aerial photography, suggested the remains of a vast, straight roadway, bordered by earthen berms. Based on this evidence, researchers proposed the existence of a Great Hopewell Road, an arrow-straight pathway nearly 60 miles long, connecting the Newark earthworks to their other great ceremonial center at Chillicothe. The idea is staggering. A 60-mile-long, perfectly straight road, built by hand 2 millennia ago. If it existed, it would be one of the most extraordinary engineering feats of the ancient world. The road is thought to have been about 200 feet wide, wider than a modern 8-lane highway, and flanked by low walls of earth. Its proposed path cuts across rivers, valleys, and hills with an unwavering determination, ignoring the natural obstacles that would normally dictate a winding path. This is what makes the road so enigmatic. Building a straight path over such terrain requires an immense amount of effort. Why go to all that trouble? Why not simply follow the easier, natural contours of the land? The answer must lie in the road's purpose, which was clearly more than just practical transportation. This is where the mystery deepens, because the physical evidence for the road is controversial. While the aerial clues are compelling, on-the-ground archaeology has struggled to find definitive proof. Some surveys have found subtle features that could be the road's remnants, but others have found nothing. It's possible that centuries of farming and development have erased almost all traces of it, leaving only ghostly imprints for us to argue over. So, does that mean the Great Hopewell Road is a myth? Not necessarily. It might mean we are looking for the wrong thing or in the wrong way. The Hopewell may have defined this sacred pathway not with deep ditches or high walls, but with clearings, light gravel, or even just symbolic marker posts that have long since vanished. If it was real, what was its use? A road that wide and that straight wasn't for everyday travel. This was almost certainly a ceremonial avenue, a sacred path for processions. Imagine hundreds, perhaps even thousands, of people journeying from Chillicothe to Newark for a major religious event. The road itself would have been part of the ritual, a physical manifestation of a spiritual connection between two powerful centers of the world. Walking that straight path, aligned with the cosmos, would have been a transformative experience, separating the pilgrims from their everyday world and preparing them for the ceremonies ahead. It might not have been a road meant for the feet alone, but for the spirit. The enigma of the Great Hopewell Road ultimately asks us a profound question. Did the Hopewell people see a connection between places not just as a physical distance to be traveled, but as a straight, spiritual line to be walked? Whether a physical reality or a powerful symbolic idea, the road represents the immense scale of Hopewell thought, a culture that shaped not just mounds, but the very landscape between them. High on a secluded sandstone cliff in eastern Ohio, hidden within a quiet quarry, lies a canvas of ancient mystery. This is the site known as Track Rocks, or the Barnesville Petroglyphs. Unlike the massive earthworks that reshape the landscape, this mystery is intimate, etched in stone. Here, hundreds of intricate carvings cover the rock face, a dense collection of symbols that have resisted clear interpretation for centuries. The most prominent images are footprints, dozens of them, carved in various sizes and directions, as if frozen in a timeless dance. Alongside them are animals like turkeys and serpents, abstract circular patterns, and humanoid figures. This isn't a random scattering of marks. The site feels deliberate, a concentrated burst of symbolism left by people long gone. The prevailing belief is that the Hopewell culture, or perhaps their Adena predecessors, created these carvings over 2,000 years ago. But without a written language to explain them, we are left to decipher a silent message. The most immediate question is, what do the footprints mean? One theory is that they are quite literal. This could have been a sacred site associated with a creator being or a powerful cultural hero. The footprints might represent the literal steps of this figure across the landscape, marking a path of spiritual significance. Alternatively, they could be symbolic records of actual events. Perhaps individuals came here to carve their own footprints as a form of pilgrimage, a way to mark their visit to a powerful place, leaving a permanent record of their presence for the spirit world or for future generations. The variety in size might indicate the participation of different people, even children, in these rituals. Another line of thinking moves away from the literal and into the metaphysical. In many Native American traditions, the concept of a journey is not just physical, but spiritual. Shaman, or individuals seeking vision quests, would traverse between the physical and spirit worlds. The footprints, especially those leading to or from other symbols, could represent this spiritual travel. They might mark the path a soul takes after death or the route a shaman's spirit travels during a trance. The animals carved alongside them are not just wildlife. They are likely spirit guides or powerful totems. A serpent might symbolize transformation or the underworld, while a turkey could represent abundance and providence. The site, then, becomes less a record and more a portal, a map of the cosmos and the journeys taken within it. The location itself adds another layer to the mystery. Why this particular cliff? The sandstone was certainly easy to carve, but that can't be the only reason. The site is secluded, not out in the open like the great earthworks. This suggests it was a place for more private, perhaps more intense, rituals. It might have been a place of initiation, where knowledge was passed down, or a place to commune with the spirit world away from the main community. The true meaning of the Barnesville Track Rocks is locked within the worldview of the artists. Were they signing their names, recording a myth, mapping a spiritual journey, or doing something we haven't even considered? The stones hold their secret tightly, offering us a beautiful and frustrating glimpse into a mindscape we can only hope to understand. Some ancient mysteries are vast, spanning acres of land. Others are small enough to hold in your hand, yet just as profound. In the world of Ohio archaeology, few artifacts are as iconic or as puzzling as the Adena pipe. Discovered in 1901 within the Great Adena Mound in Chillicothe, this pipe is not just a smoking instrument. It is a masterwork of ancient art and a portrait of a complete enigma. Carved from a single block of Ohio pipestone around 2,000 years ago, the pipe takes the form of a human figure. But this is no ordinary person. The figure is crouching, with its legs drawn up and its arms resting on its knees. It is muscular and detailed, with a focused, intense expression. It wears a breechcloth and a simple belt, and its head is adorned with a circular ornament, perhaps a feather or a knot of hair. The craftsmanship is exquisite, revealing an artist of incredible skill. But the real mystery lies in the identity of the person it depicts. The figure is unlike any typical portrayal found in later Native American art. It doesn't neatly fit the stylistic patterns of any known tribe from the region. This has led to decades of speculation about who, or what, this person represents. The most common interpretation is that it depicts a shaman or a priest in a state of ritual transformation. The crouching pose is not one of rest. It is dynamic, tense, as if the figure is ready to spring into action or is in the midst of a powerful vision. The intense look on its face suggests concentration and otherworldly connection. In this view, the pipe was not for everyday use. It was a sacred object, used by a spiritual leader during ceremonies, perhaps to smoke ritually significant tobacco to facilitate communication with the spirit world. The pipe itself becomes a conduit, and the figure represents the human vessel at the center of that spiritual exchange. Another theory suggests the figure is a portrait of a specific, important individual. Perhaps it is a renowned leader, a beloved ancestor, or a founding figure of the Adena culture. The attention to individualistic detail, the specific hairstyle, the defined musculature, the posture, hints at someone real, not just a generic symbol. This would make the Adena pipe one of the earliest known examples of portraiture in North America. A third, more intriguing idea is that the figure represents a being from a lost mythology. Maybe it depicts a creator god, a cultural hero from a story that has long since been forgotten, or even a being from a world beyond our own. The unusual style could be because it is meant to show someone not of this earth. The Adena pipe is unique. No other artifact quite like it has ever been found. This singularity deepens the mystery. Was it the masterpiece of a lone genius artist? Was it part of a tradition of portrait pipes that simply haven't survived the centuries? The Adena pipe offers no answers, only a silent, stone-gaze question. It is a frozen moment in time, a breathtakingly realistic glimpse of a man from 2 millennia ago. We can see him so clearly, yet we have no idea who he was, what he was doing, or what he believed. He is a perfect symbol of these ancient mysteries, so close we can almost touch him, yet forever just out of reach. Rising 65 feet above the city that shares its name, the Miamisburg Mound is the tallest conical burial mound in Ohio. It's a silent, imposing presence, a giant green hill that has watched over the landscape for over 2,000 years, built by the ancient Adena culture. For generations, it was a place of local legend and quiet curiosity. But what truly sets this mound apart and fuels its deepest mystery isn't just its size. It's what we know lies inside and our tantalizing inability to explore it. In the 19th century, amateur archaeologists tunneled into the mound's center. What they found was not just a simple burial. They discovered a mysterious chamber, a deep vault lined with clay and logs, a secret room built with clear intention at the very heart of the earthwork. But they could not fully explore it. Fearing a collapse, they retreated, sealing the tunnel behind them. And there it remains, an unexplored enigma. The existence of this chamber raises profound questions. Most Adena mounds contain burials, often cremated remains placed in log-lined tombs. But the scale and construction of the chamber in Miamisburg suggests something more. Was it the final resting place of an incredibly important leader, a high priest or a chief, buried with artifacts that would rewrite our understanding of the Adena world? The clay lining hints at a desire to protect the contents from the elements, to hermetically seal something away for eternity. Could it be a repository of sacred objects, not meant for a single person, but for the entire culture? A kind of time capsule filled with ritual items, carvings, or materials too sacred to be left in the world of the living. The frustrating and thrilling part is that we can only speculate. Modern archaeology has the technology to investigate without causing a collapse. Miniature cameras, ground-penetrating radar, and careful engineering could peer into that dark vault. But out of deep respect for what is, unequivocally, a burial site and a sacred space to descendant communities, the mound remains undisturbed. The secret chamber is protected not by stone and earth, but by ethics. This transforms the Miamisburg Mound from an archaeological site into a permanent mystery. It stands as a promise of unanswered questions. We know the room is there. We can almost feel its presence. We can wonder about the treasures it guards, whether they are physical artifacts or simply the quiet bones of the past. It is a testament to the fact that some secrets are meant to be kept, a locked door from the ancient world that we have chosen, rightly, never to open. On a secluded sandstone outcrop in southern Ohio, another language is written, but this is no alphabet we recognize. These are the Petroglyphs, a dense collection of over 37 intricate carvings etched by ancient people perhaps 1,000 years ago. The images are clear and stunningly preserved. Lizards, birds, human footprints, and abstract shapes. But alongside them are symbols that look less like pictures and more like writing. There are series of dots, intricate cross-hatching, spirals, and strange geometric patterns that seem to follow a logic and sequence. This has led many researchers to wonder if the Petroglyphs are more than just art, if they are, in fact, a form of untranslated script, a message left behind that we simply cannot read. The petroglyphs have resisted all attempts at decipherment. They do not match any known writing system from North America. The patterns are unique to this site. A Chinese letter, P-U-Z-Z-L-E without a key. This has spawned several theories. The first is that the symbols are a sophisticated form of sacred shorthand, a set of ritual symbols understood only by shamans or spiritual leaders within the culture. They might represent concepts, prayers, or mythological stories meant to be read and understood by the initiated, not the general population. In this view, it's not a language for communication, but for communion with the spirit world. Another possibility is that we are looking at a true written language that died with its creators. Perhaps the ancient people in this specific area developed a unique symbolic system that was never adopted more widely, and was lost when their culture changed or dispersed. The most intriguing theory, however, is that the symbols are a complex map. The dots could represent stars, the lines could be migratory routes or spiritual paths, and the animal figures could be clan totems or territorial markers. The entire outcrop might be a cosmological diagram, charting the relationship between the earth, the spirit world, and the cosmos above. Without a Rosetta Stone to provide a translation, the true meaning of the Leo petroglyphs may forever remain a secret. They are a powerful reminder that communication is not always universal. The people who carved these symbols knew exactly what they meant. They put their thoughts into stone, believing their message would last. And it has. The message has endured for a millennium. The only thing that hasn't lasted is the meaning itself. We are left with a beautiful, frustrating, and silent conversation from the past, a language we can see but cannot hear. In the midst of the 19th century, a discovery was made that promised to shatter everything historians thought they knew about ancient America. It was 1860, and excavators digging within a mysterious burial mound near Newark, Ohio, unearthed something utterly inexplicable: a small black stone tablet, intricately carved with a detailed inscription. But this was no native American petroglyph. The writing was in Hebrew. The artifact, which became known as the Decalogue Stone, appeared to depict a man thought to be Moses holding the Ten Commandments, written in a classical Hebrew script. Soon after, a second stone, the keystone for its distinctive shape, was found nearby, also inscribed with Hebrew letters. The implication was earth-shattering. Had ancient Hebrew travelers reached the heart of North America centuries before Columbus? The debate that erupted over these Newark Holy Stones became one of the most heated controversies in American archaeology, a debate that simmers to this day. The case for the stones being genuine is compelling to some. The inscriptions were examined by contemporary experts who affirmed the Hebrew was authentic. The stones were found deep within an undisturbed ancient mound, a context that seemed to guarantee their age. For those who believed, this was the ultimate proof of a theory that pre-Columbian transoceanic contact had occurred. It suggested that a lost tribe of Israel, or perhaps Phoenician traders working with Hebrews, had penetrated deep into the American continent and interacted with the mound builder cultures. The stones were presented as undeniable evidence, a message from the past waiting to be read. However, almost from the moment of their discovery, accusations of a hoax followed. The skeptic's case is powerful. The stones were discovered by a man named David Wyrick, a surveyor and amateur archaeologist who was a known enthusiast for the theory of the lost tribes of Israel. The timing was also suspiciously convenient, found at the peak of national interest in the mysterious mound builders. Most damningly, linguists now point out that the form of Hebrew on the stones is a later, more modern script, not the ancient Hebrew that would have been used thousands of years ago. Critics argue a skilled stonecutter with access to a Hebrew Bible could have created them, planting them in the mound for Wyrick to find. The fact that no other similar artifacts have ever been found in any other undisputed archaeological context across the continent is perhaps the strongest argument against them. So, are they a priceless historical revelation or an elaborate Victorian-era forgery? The truth remains locked in the past. They could be a brilliant hoax designed to prove a favorite theory, taking advantage of the less rigorous archaeological practices of the time. Or, they could be the most inconvenient artifact in North America, dismissed because they don't fit the established historical narrative. The Newark Holy Stones sit in a museum, forever at the center of this storm. They represent the ultimate conflict between a thrilling historical possibility and the rigorous, often skeptical, standards of science. They ask us a difficult question: are we open to rewriting history, or are we too quick to dismiss what we cannot easily explain? Perched high on a bluff above the Little Miami River, the Fort Ancient Earthworks form one of the most impressive and complex hilltop enclosures in North America. Built primarily by the Hopewell culture over 2,000 years ago, its name is a misnomer. It was not a fort, but something far more profound. The massive earthen walls, which stretch for over 3.5 miles, enclose a vast sacred space. And within this space, the ancient architects built a precise and sophisticated calendar, one that used the sun itself to mark the passage of time. This isn't a carved stone circle. The entire landscape is the timekeeping device, and its gateways are the instruments of measurement. The genius of the fort ancient calendar lies in its alignment with the solar cycle. The builders carefully positioned large, keyhole-shaped gateways through the mounds at specific points. On the mornings of the equinoxes, the 2 days of the year when day and night are of equal length, an observer standing in the center of the plaza would see the sun rise directly through the center of the massive gateway in the eastern wall. It is a breathtakingly precise event, a moment of perfect alignment that transforms the architecture into a celestial clock. But the alignments don't stop there. Other gateways and gaps in the walls are thought to align with the solstice sunrises and sunsets, the longest and shortest days of the year. This creates a complete annual solar calendar, built into the very earth. The purpose of this giant calendar was undoubtedly central to the Hopewell way of life. Knowing the exact timing of the equinoxes and solstices was not about science for its own sake. It was about survival, ceremony, and cosmic order. These solar events would have dictated the timing of planting and harvesting, the migration of game animals, and the gathering of people for great religious festivals. The sunrise on an equinox would have been a signal, a moment when the spiritual power of the sun was channeled directly into the ceremonial plaza, validating the authority of the leaders and priests who understood these cycles. It was a way of tying the community's rhythm directly to the immutable rhythm of the universe. The fort ancient sunrise calendar stands as a silent testament to the Hopewell people's deep astronomical knowledge and their incredible engineering skill. They didn't just observe the heavens, they integrated them into their landscape on a grand scale. It shows a society that saw no separation between the spiritual and the scientific, between the earth and the sky. Every equinox sunrise that passes through that eastern gateway today is a repeat of a performance 2,000 years old, a silent, stunning confirmation that the ancient builders knew exactly what they were doing.